Rewind, where we're talking about the merge of Northern Lights Survivor 3. A lot has happened. There have been some pretty shocking eliminations, more rocks, and Styles, why don't you set us up? What was this merge tribe like? Nahisa? Is that how we're pronouncing it? Nahisa?
I've been pronouncing it
I,
Nagisa, but it might be
Nahisa
Nasa.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Naisa. You gotta say you gotta go with a sharp
Yeah,
accent.
yeah, yeah.
But
Pizza.
so we merged during Thanksgiving. So people were stuffing their faces with turkey. No one was really talking too much crazy game. There were some VCs going on because we're just coming off the head of a Camille and Gage blindsiding and leaving Taylor Ryan out of the vote. Some damage control happened there. But not much happened really till like Sunday and Monday. And the overarching theme is that there's two sides at the first vote at the final 12. Usually the merge vote's like a unanimous thing. This time it was not. So we have 6 versus 6. We got Philip, Trey, Ash, Jacob. Who the fuck else is on there? Adib, Gage against, and they're going after who the fuck? They went after Ben. Philip wants Ben out. He wants revenge. He wants revenge. Revenge is on his mind. And then Trey and them also want revenge for the mess that Ben caused last week. So all that put together makes Ben the target. And then the other side wants to do Jacob. So well, actually, the leader, quote unquote, the person that was probably the biggest player on the other side, evident in the next elimination after this, wants Trey out. But Virgo is playing in the middle because she knows Trey before the game, has established a connection with Trey. So she's kind of able to shift the target over to Jacob, which makes sense for her because you keep Trey in, yada yada, and you get one of Trey's out as you weaken him. Those six, so you have Virgo, Camille, Zay, Haley, Ben, and Taylor Ryan. They tie the vote after a crazy, crazy round. And then at the revote, like you would think, oh, like it's all good. We're staying strong. Virgo from one side flips. Virgo has expressed all day, I don't want to go to Rocks. I don't want to go to Rocks. I'm so scared to go to Rocks. And then you have Gage who flips because Gage, he flips a lot. And so that causes another fucking tie. And then here we are. And now we're having a big fight in the main chat. Virgo is at a concert or like some kind of play or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes back to the game as the one who drew the purple rock. And that's just the summary, of course. There's millions of things that happened during the round and every round. But yeah, that's the overarching kind of story of the first.
Let's not forget that originally Gage was voting out Jacob. It was never going to tie.
He flipped
and
it
then
last second.
Philip at the last second, it's like, all right, everyone, like I got something to say. And I'm like, all right, go ahead, say it. I'm here for the tea. That's what I do as a travel host. If there's any sort of tea, I get it. So I was like, go ahead. The floor is yours. And Gage was like, you know what? Screw it. Changing my vote. And that's what caused the tie in the first place.
So,
Right.
Cesar, this is not the first rock of the season, even. Who do you think, how many of the players do you think this was actually worth going to rocks for? And how many people do you think this was a dumb move?
I think it was worth going to rock for pretty much everyone. Well, Gage, I mean, he flipped. I don't know. I don't know about Gage, okay? Because Gage, I think he wanted to play the middle, and I think he would have been in the middle regardless. But so I don't know if he had to go to Roxanne, like he didn't really want to. I don't know. I'm not really sure if Gage. Okay, so Jimmy can speak on Gage, but I think everybody pretty much. I mean, they had to go to Rocks because they needed the numbers at the end of the day. It was a pretty even split. To a certain point, it was a pretty even split. Okay, the problem. That's it. That's what I'm saying right now. I want Jimmy to say something, and then I'll rebuttal Jimmy's. I want him to start.
Say, what do you want me to say?
Whatever. I'll rebuttal whatever you say.
Well, no, I think that we're kind of like oversimplifying like just how tragic like Virgo's rock elimination was because like Styles mentioned, like she was very scared of rocks, right? Like that was like a very big concern of hers. She was like, she's in this like perfect spot in the game right now where like both sides are completely trusting of her. Even like the people that like aren't really like trusting of her are still like not even looking at her as like a target. Like she's very well set up to like completely dominate this merge, in my opinion. And she's like, I don't want to, go out on rocks. That's just not how I want to leave this game. I've worked so hard. She also has this huge factor of not being present while all this is happening because she's at this musical. She went to go see Funny Girl, right, with her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
So she's not even there, which is another huge important factor. So all she knows is like the vote tied, right? And nobody was expecting a tie. They didn't think it was going to be 6-6. It was kind of like they thought it was possible, but they weren't like sure that, oh, it's definitely going to be a tie. So all Virgo comes back to check in on and sees the tie vote is, oh, it tied. So she flips her vote because she's thinking, I'm going to get us out of this. Like, I don't want Ben to go, but I'd rather Ben go than myself. So she's like, I'm going to flip. I'm going to vote Ben out, which was like crazy in its own right because Ben's like a hugely loyal, like big number for her. And to this day, like currently in the game, nobody knows that Virgo flipped. Like literally no one but Virgo. Like not even like Camille, Trey, Taylor, like none of them have any idea that she was the one that actually forced the second tie on Rock Draw. Like all they know is that Gage flipped to vote out Jacob. And Gage probably also didn't think it was going to tie. Like Gage is thinking, oh, well, I'm going to be like chaotic. That's how Gage plays. Like Gage is a very like fluid, adaptable player. And he's like, I don't really give a shit who goes home between these two. I just want this to be chaos. And he's like, I'm going to flip my vote and send Jacob home. Like everyone might think we're going to go to Rocks, but now it's going to be like another blind side on everyone. And Jacob's going to lead by one vote, right? So then it comes out and they both flip and now it's Rocks and Virgo's the one that goes home. Like just like the pure like irony of all of those different things having to happen at one time for her to get sent home on Rocks is like such a tragedy, especially considering her placement in the game. But as for like why Gage flipped, I don't think it was like a preset reason. I think Gage is very aware of like his position in the game and wants to better it. And I think either one of them going is probably good for Gage, to be honest. I think he had a last second change of heart of like, let's weaken the trio because there's 6 people here that actually wanted to do it. And I don't know if he necessarily knew that the numbers were there to like weaken the trio in that vote until he saw it come out 6-6. And then he was like, okay, I can flip here and actually send someone that's more threatening to my game than Ben is right now. You know, but it could have, for all we know with Gage, it could have literally been like a split second game time decision. That
he said in his confessional after that while like when it was tying and whatnot, Jacob was like trying to like plead for his life and try to like talk about like, oh, like after like we can all talk about everything, this, that, whatever, and that rubbed Gage the wrong way, which was like, I'm not going, and he was like, I'm not going to Rocks for this kid. Which made him decide to switch his vote.
Poor Jacob just has like
Jacob's not worth it. I'm switching my vote. But Virgo also switched her vote. Which we knew all day Virgo wanted to switch her vote if it tied, but we didn't think she'd be online to do it. We were like, oh, Virgo's not gonna get online. Her vote's gonna stay the same because she's a funny girl. And then she actually popped online, which shocked all of us, and switched her vote. If she would have just stayed offline like we all thought that she was going to, she'd still probably be in the game.
Oh yeah, and we were all excited because we're like, "Yay, Rocks!" and all them have like no idea that they just like, just a mess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, poor Jacob, like that pleading in the tribe chat and stuff. Like I love Jacob. I think he's hilarious when it comes to like loyal, like good player, like very good, like physically in the comps, like. But he just like obviously it's his first org and it's not his fault. But there's just so many things about Jacob's game that are just like this naivety of like a rookie like new org player where like even I was looking at like his DMs today on like his one-on-ones and the difference between Jacob like saying, oh yeah, like us 5 are gonna stick together and then we're gonna like get the other 3 out and I'm going to like final 3 with Trey and Ash, and then like you look at Trey and Ash and they've got like their trio with Philip on the side and they're like actively plotting Jacob's demise. Like, yeah, Jacob's the one that's got to go to like weaken this trio and get the target off of our backs. Like they're like more than ready for Jacob to leave and Jacob just has no idea. It's just, it's sad to watch at the same time, but it's just like a lesson that Jacob is probably going to learn sooner than later. And
that we've all learned plenty of times.
We're going to talk about lessons. If we're going to talk about lessons, okay? I have to say something real quick, all right? You are right, and you can tell how rookie, Jacob is being because, he doesn't know any better, all right? We've all been there, it's whatever. He's got blind trust right now.
I'll never forget the first blind side of my first Survivor.
Right, which brings me back to also, Virgo was playing the same game, and you could tell, like, she has her social game is impeccable. Like, she can just convince anybody. And she had so much power going into that merge because Everybody liked Virgo. The only person that actually brought her name towards the end of the day or whatever was Adib, and I'm not really sure where
Mhm.
that came from. That came out of left field. So whatever happened there. The only thing is she was trusting her lake house buddies. Okay, I had a
Here we
backup, but
go.
then
Yeah, because they were in the
Here we go.
background.
I,
wait,
I
wait,
agree.
wait. So I really just wanted her to actually survive and get voted out so that she can learn. Because that's what
Mhm.
was gonna happen. Trey was not gonna be with her. Like she's ranking Trey number one, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Trey has her number five. Taylor
Mhm.
is ready to cut. Like they're all, and she's just playing for them because that's the only people she knows. So we've all been there. We're like, oh yeah, we're friends, we're buddies, blah blah blah. After a few games, you realize, nah,
You got to
everybody's a snake.
separate game and the
Everybody's
personal.
a snake, right? And she was so set on this whole lake house, lake house, lake house that and now she won't even learn her next game either because she
So,
got out
So
the
Cesar's upset that she got rocked out so that her friends couldn't blindside her and teach her a lesson, basically.
No,
but
'cause
again, you
I'm
are
with
correct.
it.
But here's the deal. And everybody knows this. I do like Virgo. Virgo is awesome, a
Yeah.
great girl, whatever. But the gameplay, she was missing that part where she could have done so other things. Like she was voting out her number ones left and right just to keep this lake house. People say, which is well, Trey really. I'm like, dude, no, you're doing it not right. This is not what you
Right.
do. They don't have you
And
number
don't
one.
don't forget, like right before the vote where it tied and she left, Trey was like cursing her out and like his DR saying like that she's dead to him because like she's flipping and he wants her gone soon, this, that, whatever. Like this fully could have happened. Like she
Well,
fully
the whole
Oh yeah.
time, Trey has been thinking about getting her out.
Oh yeah. Trey clocked her position in the game though and knew that she
Yeah.
was playing both sides and playing it
Mhm.
well. And he was like, yeah,
So,
that's not happening. So
but I do have to give her credit. Like I said, her social game is good. It's just that she's new at this kind
Yeah.
of game. So she'll learn that. Hopefully, she'll get blindsided in the
Yeah.
next one by one of her friends.
I
I will
mean,
say, I'm looking at her trust ranking, her last trust rankings right now. Camille was number one, so at least she knew that Trey should have not been her number one, but Trey was number two. So,
Well, Trey was
Trey.
number two. But here's the deal, though.
But
But Camille,
but
But Camille was number one, right? But
Hmm?
she was already telling in the DR that she wanted to blindside Camille the next week, the next cycle. What?
True.
and then also she was telling everything Camille said about Trey to Trey.
Yeah. So
Everything.
no,
Yeah.
like I think she was trying to make us because we kept asking her, "Are you gonna like do hang out or be with your friends? Are you gonna do what?" I think she was trying to please us in her rankings, but everything she was doing was the complete opposite. Which
I
is
think
fine.
like the funniest aspect of the Virgo Rock Tribal is for like the whole like even like 4 or 5 days later, Ben is still like eulogizing Virgo. Like I can't believe that like my number one left the game. Like all
Seriously,
this
and she
stuff.
was
Like
ready
he's like
to,
he was so upset. He's
Caught
like,
all of them. See you later.
this did
and
not
she
go
was
the
ready
right
to get him
way.
out.
Like I can't believe this. Like you guys tied it and I lost my number one. He has no idea that she was the vote that tied it for him again. Like crazy.
Well, and like
Her
honestly, like,
flipping is karma though.
Her flipping
It,
was
oh yeah,
karma.
it was
And,
literally
and,
instant karma.
Jimmy,
Like
you
instant
said
karma.
it immediately, but right, the karma.
Instant
And
like,
karma. She
honest,
flipped on Ben and went home. Like
I want you guys to
crazy.
confirm something for me real quick. And Virgo's position on each side. So she's playing both sides.
Mhm.
On Trey's side, where is she? Like middle bottom, right? On the Camille Ben side, she's quite literally
She's the
probably
queen.
on top, the
She's
very
the
top
queen.
person
Yeah.
with
She
the
was
most
number one for
agency.
both of them. Like
In fact,
Yes,
in fact,
yes.
do you guys
She
remember?
had options, man.
You guys,
She should not have flipped.
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't at one point she didn't know what she wanted to do or whatever towards the beginning of the day, and then wasn't her DR buddy the one that pointed out, look at your rankings. It makes sense for you to vote.
The bottom
Yeah.
person, yeah. Don't vote Camille out
no,
here.
and
Number
she, I
one.
mean,
That's
she
not a
and
good
she did
idea.
ultimately make the right
She
strategic
made
Yeah,
decision
yes,
yes,
yes.
she
by
did.
voting Jacob,
But
but
I
the
think
flip
it's
back cost her.
I think
Yeah.
it's
But yeah,
because
I still think the
DR
flip back
buddy.
was only to try and avoid rocks, which happened anyways.
No,
But
it
it's
was. Yeah, it
well,
was.
and I
Which
would argue
honestly,
that
I'm the same boat. Like
I
I'm
can
with Virgo on
understand.
that. Like
I
I'm
can
always gonna
understand.
send someone home before myself. Like always.
Right.
I don't care
Nah,
who
you
you
gotta go. You gotta do
I've
it.
been
You
to
gotta
rocks
go.
plenty of times, and I come out
See,
What's
I don't
up?
agree with that
But
because
she
it
didn't come
didn't
out, so
Styles just wants the
for
most amount of chaos at any given time when he's playing, though. So
yeah.
No, it's not that, but I think with me, for example, well, Jimmy's different. Jimmy, he likes to jump ships. It don't matter. Okay. With me, I like to take my ship to the end. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I am going to go to rocks, and I hope, pray that my ship is still fucking, excuse my language, still there at the end of the day.
My yeah, but the biggest point about that when it works is that if the sides are clearly defined, and for people like Trey and Camille, maybe it felt like that, but like for the other people in this game, they are not looking at this merged tribe as like even split sides. Like they were
Yeah.
all there was at
Uh,
least like 4 to 5 of them like actively playing the middle, lying to everybody about where they were voting. Like for a lot of those players, it doesn't feel like I need to go to rocks for this person. So that's why I was shocked that so many of them like were like for the second time this season we're like nah we're doing it like not flipping like they're literally in the tribe chat like not changing my vote like
Right.
crazy. I wouldn't do that for if I'm like a Haley or a Zay or even like a like Ash or Jacob. Like I mean I guess Jacob didn't have a choice because he was one of the other
no.
people, but like for their like position like I'm like yeah no like I'm not going to rocks for these people. Like it doesn't make any sense for me to like I would trust my ability to like maneuver and repivot and
Yeah. I'm
you
sure
know,
Virgo thought that she'd be able to reintegrate herself in somewhere else. And
yeah,
then, so she's like, you know what, like losing band sucks, but
yeah,
it's not losing
oh yeah. And
me. And
I think if
I have
anyone
enough
could repivot,
agency
it's
to
it.
find
I
new
don't
outlets.
know. I
But
don't know.
Well,
I'm
and
sorry. I'm not gonna
so
do number one like that. Never.
so we got to move on, but I do want to say I think it sucked that Virgo was the one to get rocked out because even if she
yeah.
wasn't making the best decisions, she was causing a little bit of chaos and she was fun to watch. And it would have been nice to see like what happened, like if it kept going.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's
Right?
other people, like no shade, there's people that I think are playing more boring that I would have preferred to see go over Virgo.
Oh, agreed.
Mhm.
Who?
I'm
Real
not
quick though,
It was
real
a
Name
quick,
them. Name them.
I'm
really,
not you,
really
Name
quick,
Cesar.
them.
I'm not you. They
it was a brutal merge
You
pick
name
for
him,
them.
Cesar.
yeah, you go.
really,
You name them.
really quick though. You got to give Haley her flowers. She actually played very well in this round.
I agree. I
Mm.
agree. I am a fan of Haley. I think
Haley,
when she was active, she caused chaos and she was able
Mhm.
to
She
make
rose up those trust rankings. You know
yeah.
what I mean? She
She's
flipped
a
from
So
Trey and OG Hanu. I mean, there's definitely a lot to say about her in that round.
I still to this day don't really know who. Well, I guess I mean now we guess Virgo, right? But to this day, well, I guess till before that, I didn't know who she was loyal to.
yeah.
I
I
Who,
really
mean,
Haley? No,
well,
definitely
yeah.
Virgo.
well, Haley
Well, no,
and
I
Zay
said after now we know it was Haley. Sorry, what's up?
no, I was gonna say Haley and Zay both like flipped on OG Hanu that round, and that was like good for them, you know. Like
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
know Zay's regretting it, not to like spoil like this week's stuff, but I know Zay's like regretting that now and is has already like flipped back. But at the time, like that was the right call. Like
That was
those
the right call.
trio, the trio, and even Adib might be like prioritizing Zay a little bit, but like Adib was like ready to vote Zay out last week, so like they weren't even like they were not being prioritized by their
I
AD tribe.
did.
So
I
it
think.
was a smart call for them to flip,
I
but
think
it just didn't work.
you keep saying it in the pro chat. People are, or maybe it wasn't, it's not you, but people are managing Zay so wrong.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been
So
managing Zay
wrong.
wrong the
Everybody.
entire season, in my opinion. Yeah.
Everybody except one person.
One person now. That's the person that I'm like, all right, like if I see no one is actively working with this person and there's no plans to get rid of this person soon, I'm doing everything in my ability to scoop them into my
I'm
direction because if
saying.
no one else has them and I have them, that's someone that'll never vote me out,
Right.
which is something that I look for as a player. And I don't know
Yeah.
why
Same.
no one else has been looking for that.
Zay had said it themselves, like someone had said it to Zay, and Zay was like repeating it that like everybody really likes Zay as like a person, like great personality, like all that stuff, but they just don't like see them as a player, and like they need to like their footing in the game is just not good enough to the point where people are coming to them with plans or anything. So like what Zay should have done is not let that like be discouraging and just kind of like step up and form the plans themselves, like get the
Right.
numbers that they
I
trust
think
and make a plan happen. And instead of that's kind of what happens when you take a back seat and you kind of play under the radar a little bit, is that eventually
Yeah.
you start getting neglected and left out of things when it starts moving faster.
I think
Yeah.
Zay has Zay plays the game like Marcus. Okay, like good play. They're nice, they're all they talk, whatever. But when it comes to the game talk, they lack that part. And I
I mean,
think,
sometimes social game carries you though.
oh,
Like
100%.
sometimes you don't need
100%.
to be the one calling the strategic shots if it works for you, you know?
I mean,
One
I
million
don't think
percent.
Zay's name has come up really as a vote anytime
Not
recently.
anything serious. People have said
I
they
think
wanted to be
everybody's
fine to
going
let
to
him
take
go,
him
but
to final two. Everybody will take Zay to
Mhm.
final two.
So
yeah.
They should want to.
Sometimes all you need to do is get there. You never know what the jury's gonna
Yeah.
look
The jury
like.
might say, "What a story they got!
You
What
know
a
what
story
though? I
they
was thinking
has!"
about what Kate and Brian were saying, and I do think Zay now, like especially with this move that just happened, he has a good. Depending on who he goes up against, anything's
You got a good
possible.
story.
Anything's
Yeah,
possible.
so moving on to the next round, the next cycle.
Mhm.
Styles, run us through what happened, and then we can discuss all the moving parts.
yeah.
Camille.
So long story short, we obviously have Trey, Ash, Jacob's side come out on top, and the next target is obviously Camille. Like pretty much off the bat, it's just Camille is the target. There's a couple of interesting things that take place, though, of course. But one of them was one of the first things. It was the morning of the tribal day. Obviously, Philip and Camille have a VC where Camille leaks that Gage has a burn a vote, which makes Philip not want to vote out Camille. Like Philip is like down to rock with Camille now because of this one piece of information. Great gameplay by Camille. Trey and Taylor Ryan, or is it not Trey? Ben and Taylor Ryan are looking to flip on Camille. And I'm assuming in Ben's case, it's more so just trying to stay alive and not trying to be on the bottom. I get that because you took 6 votes. Taylor Ryan doesn't trust Camille because of the vote that happened last week to take out Sean without Taylor Ryan knowing. So Taylor Ryan is down to kick out Camille just based off the trust ranking. Camille was already pretty low on there to begin with. And what was the vote count? I forgot what the vote count was.
I
It
think it
ended
was
up being
6-5.
It
six
was
to five. Yeah. Taylor
So
Ryan and Ben flip, Philip flips, and you get a 6 to
I
5
think.
vote. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. My bad.
So Camille ends up going home. There was rumblings here and there that something could happen, but at the end of the day, Camille goes home 6 to 5, and
Mhm.
Well,
that's
I
and
think. Yeah.
it was
Camille-
Camille pretty much most of the day.
Camille's name, I feel like, has come up so many times throughout the season. What do you think he could have done to maybe make it a little bit further into the end game?
Not vote out Sean that
I was
early.
just going to say, Cesar's going to disagree, but I'm going to say not vote out Sean. That's definitely the move that kind of probably cost Camille the game there. But it also was like several other things. Like if Ben doesn't flop at that, like trying to take power and keep Courtney and get the tides turned on Ash there, that also probably doesn't happen against Camille there because then Ben has numbers. The tribe rocks don't even happen last round. Virgo's still in the game. She's holding all of that side together, even though it's not the side that she may want to run with till the end. She was very loyal to Camille. And if Virgo's still in the game, then she's there to kind of play devil's advocate with Trey and Taylor about like keeping Camille in for at least one more round, even though she probably would have kept doing that each round. Like
Yeah,
all of
definitely.
those things, like Camille blindsiding Taylor and leaving him out of the vote, and there's just so many like factors that go into that decision. But Ben losing Courtney on that attempt at a flip, and then losing the rock draw, or so he sees it, even though he actually won the rock draw because Virgo was literally voting him out. But if those two don't happen, then Ben doesn't feel as defeated because that whole next day he's like going to the trio like, I'm a number, like pick me if you want to like use me, but I've got no power. Like I just like lost 2 allies back to back that I was fighting for. Like I'm just trying to survive, at this point. And he's with Taylor, like, you want to flip the Trey side? Let's do it at this point because I've got nothing else left, like everything is burned down. I'm just like rising from the ashes at this point. So those are a lot of factors I think that contribute to why Camille was just facing such a losing battle. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately he just didn't have the right numbers that were going to be like actually loyal to him. I mean, he had 4 numbers, but he needed one more, and that was Virgo, and Virgo was gone. So it was just a losing battle.
I got one thing real quick, and then you guys could go because I just have one thing I want to say before we forget about it. Is it does help, and this has been a theme all season, and people might disagree, but Trey, Ben, and Taylor Ryan happen to know each other before the game, so I think there's a comfort in Taylor Ryan flipping to Trey.
wait,
But
okay,
sorry.
hold up. Okay, he just talked for like 20 minutes. Let me talk for a bit, okay? Here's the deal. Getting Sean out, sure, it was bad. I think his mistake was Sure, that was a little bit of the mistake. Okay, a little
You
bit.
said last week it wasn't a mistake.
I want to ask
Hold
a
on, hold on,
question
hold on,
about
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
Okay.
please. But I think his actual mistake was blindsiding Taylor
Taylor
Ryan.
Ryan.
Because Taylor Ryan had him up there, right? So him blindsiding Taylor Ryan is what screwed him over. I don't think it was a Sean because Sean wanted him out as well. But whatever, we can argue all you want. That's fine. I think the problem is blindsiding Taylor Ryan, right? Second reason that he could have done was during this whole voting situation, Philip was talking to him and he was telling him exactly what he needed to know. And I think Camille was being stubborn and not listening to Philip. All right.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, yes, agree for sure.
Third of
Trey,
all,
and we already talked about that last week. Trey and Camille were both just like too hyper focused on each other when they should have
Yeah,
just
right.
buried it, worked together,
Third of all,
and they'd both still be like in the game, killing it probably. But
and then that's it. Okay. Third, that night, that whole day actually or whatever, Camille, he did focus on other people, but he did not focus on Taylor Ryan and Ben. I remember Ben messaged him at like 5, okay, I'm ready to VC or whatever. Camille left him on red until like 7:45. Had he talked to Ben, maybe he could have done something. You never know.
Well,
Ben seems like a very,
all
they
over
were
the
they were talking in that like sleuthing six alliance, but again, yeah, the one-on-one, nothing beats
One-on-
like a good one-on-one voice call or
right,
Yeah,
right.
Taylor
So,
Ryan and Ben were lying their ass off to Camille all day, though. I'll give them that.
no,
But
well,
yes,
they were,
Camille definitely
but they
fucked him
were,
up.
but you don't know what a good VC can do. All
Mhm.
right.
it was a little bit frustrating because Ben, at least in the morning, initially was not trying to vote Camille out at all. Ben actually said after Virgo left, like, I'm playing this game for Camille and Taylor. And like he was like, I don't like I'm just here to like advance their games at this point. And basically Trey being stubborn Trey and just like this is the plan. Like we're taking Camille out. It's the perfect shot. I'm doing it. I don't really care if anyone else is doing it. And Taylor being Trey's friend is just like easy flip. Like, sure, I'm like, I just lost Virgo. Like, I'm going to just go with the numbers to protect myself. I'm in. And then together, they're able to flip Ben pretty quickly from Camille's one of the only people I'm
Yeah.
playing this game for to, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
we're voting
gotta
Camille
go,
out.
yeah.
That makes sense. So easy. Like, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. And it was really, yeah, it was frustrating for sure.
I want to ask you guys. I know you all say that the Sean vote was a mistake, but
Mhm.
considering that he was able to get Philip to vote with him, who do you guys think he should have voted at that tribal council?
Adib, see you later.
Adib,
Get him out of here.
definitely
Adib should be
Yeah.
out of this game. He should be
But
gone.
do
He
you
did
think
have
Philip
a
still
legacy,
votes with
though.
him? Do you think Philip still votes with Camille if he votes out Adib?
It's tough to say.
At that point, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. At
Yeah.
that point, no.
If my
think-
grandma had wheels,
I
she'd
just
be a
think
bus.
that, but here's the thing: if he goes for Adib, then maybe Taylor and Ben do that instead of Sean. You know, like if that's where, and that's kind of like what Cesar was saying about
Mhm.
Philip when Philip was giving him the pieces. Like, hey, you can't go for Trey. Like, if you want to stay here, go for Jacob. And Camille was just kind of like all. Eventually, he did switch to Jacob, but all day he was like telling everyone.
Well, no,
People
but
People would
also-
talk to Philip and then come check with Camille. Like, hey, I heard like you might be open to Jacob, and Camille would never say yes,
Right.
Jacob. He'd be like Jacob or Trey, either one of those. Like, I think it needs to be Trey, but if you guys want to do Jacob, that like they wanted to hear Camille say no, let's do Jacob, and he wasn't picking up those like context.
And also, Philip kept telling him, Ben and Taylor are voting you out. And he wasn't buying it. I'm like, dude, I don't know. It was a lot. It was a lot. I don't know. There was some.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
I know,
yeah.
Sean's move, whatever. It was bad for Gage. For Camille, it was just the way he did it,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
There was
Yeah, I mean,
one more
Camille-
narrative too that we kind of missed is the big threat alliance that was kind of in play. It wasn't made, it was never made, but I think there was a lot of comfort in this big threats alliance, which I think it was including Trey, Taylor Ryan, Ben, Adib, Philip, and one more person. It wasn't Gage. Who was the last person?
yeah.
It was originally Camille.
Adib wasn't gonna
Yeah,
be there.
yeah, and then they made it what, like Jacob or
I
something?
think it was. I think it
No,
was Jacob. Yeah.
Adib
No,
wasn't
they
going to
did.
be there, right?
No, Adib was going to be there. Adib and Philip were going to be there with the.
Is
The
the chat
threats
still there?
was-
I can just
The threats
check.
was
Yeah,
Trey,
probably, yeah.
Taylor.
Camille was discussed,
So,
but then Trey was like, Camille's got to go.
Yeah,
And then
Trey
we
got him out.
right. So that was the other thing I
No.
was going to say was in the morning when Ben is still Team Camille, he's literally making this alliance with people, and he doesn't bring Jacob up at all, and brings up Camille, and then right away they like run to Trey like, oh hey, like did you hear like Ben thinks Camille's going to be a part of this alliance, and they had already decided that Camille was the target. So like they then had to go back to Ben and say, oh Ben, by the way, like, or Taylor Ryan, by the way, like, did you know Camille was throwing your name under the bus when it was supposed to be Sean? Like he was fine with voting you, like which is true, but like some random little fact that Taylor like should have Camille had no interest in voting Taylor Ryan out anymore at that point, and it was old news, but Trey was able to like use that and basically make it like Camille's the vote. So then they had to go back to Ben and say, hey, like, we're actually putting Jacob in the threat alliance. And Ben was kind of like questioned it for a second, like, oh, okay, like whatever, and then just like moved on with it. But that's why the whole threat alliance was like silly, because it was literally the plan was changed halfway through its formation just to curve to what like Jacob and Trey wanted, which was like, whatever.
Camille out, yeah, and I don't really know how they thought it would succeed if they were going to leave Ash out. Like I know that Trey was like, I got to differentiate my game. My dad got to differentiate my game. He could say that, but like at the end of the day, he's not going to go in there and just backstab one of his core alliance members for this fucking alliance. You know what I mean?
Ash was completely left out of the target
Yeah,
alliance.
yeah.
And all of a sudden found herself being given all the information about it, like she'd always been a part of it. And then it's just like
Jacob was leaking everything. Trey kind of wanted to do it, but Jacob was like, fuck that. I'm sticking with the trio. You know what I mean?
I'm mad. I'm mad. Go ahead.
I love that alliance. I loved it. It would have been awesome.
No.
Kind of in the same way that they weren't clocking Adib and Gage for so long. It's like the complete opposite with the trio. Like everybody's clocking it, and they're just playing them like around them so badly. Like they're just like letting them make the calls, letting them dictate who goes home. Like there's clear signs that like they're very, very tight. They're never going to vote each other out, and they're just like everyone's just doing whatever they want anyway. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, I want your take. How do you think Taylor Ryan has been playing this merge? Like, how would you describe his
Taylor Ryan specifically? I think he's been doing pretty well. Not a single soul knows about his idol, which in a cast like this, you don't want anyone to know about your idol, because if he's getting votes at any point, he'll definitely know, because these people don't know how to keep their mouth shut about a vote. So if he senses any votes coming his way and he doesn't think he'll have the majority, he knows that he gets whip it out at any point. I really hope, though, at some point he realizes that Trey cannot go to the end with him, because I think if he's sitting next to Trey, he loses, but I think he could beat pretty much anyone else here. I think Trey will have more support with the jury members because he has people who personally favor him, and their gameplay is kind of equal in the sense where you could give either one the win. But I think you have certain people that were like, oh, like I love Trey, and I would give the win to Trey. So if he doesn't cut Trey at some point, I don't think he'll win. But if he can get that in his head and cut Trey, I think he has a really good shot of winning.
I think the three people on the jury right now are not as respecting of Trey's game as maybe some of us on Prod or even Trey himself might be.
Not the people currently on jury, but assuming
if Jacob
Trey and Taylor Ryan take up 2 of those jury seats, then that means you have probably an Adib in there, you have and maybe an Ash in there, and Jacob. At least 2 of the 3 have to be in jury, and those would probably lock Trey votes.
I agree. I think Taylor Ryan's like one good idol play away from like playing a better game than Trey at this point, though. Even though Trey's killing it socially, like Taylor's just kind of like got that well-rounded game.
I'm not saying that Trey is necessarily playing better. It sometimes just depends on who the jury favors.
And Taylor Ryan has had to weave more than Trey.
Like, I agree. I would probably give Taylor Ryan the win, but I can't speak for the entire jury.
I think it's 2 completely different games. I think it's good for both of them to not take each other, okay? Because I think
they need to cut each other.
They need to.
I don't think they plan to bring each other. I know Taylor had said he wants to go with 2 of the trio to the end because he thinks he can beat them, but I don't think Trey has any intention of sitting next to Taylor at the end.
No, he doesn't. He said it on the voice memo earlier today that he doesn't. He needs Taylor Ryan out. But I think it's 2 completely different games. I think Taylor Ryan has played an awesome game. I
Yeah.
love what like,
Mhm.
awesome. And then
I agree.
Trey, I mean, we're gonna disagree, Jimmy, and all that. I think Trey has also played an awesome game the way that
No, I think Trey's played an
he's
awesome
going.
game. I definitely think Trey's played an awesome game. I think it's mostly been a strategic game, and that's what
Strategic
some of
game.
that some of that isn't. I mean, a social game. Sorry, not a strategic game. I think the strategic part is where Trey is lacking, and that's not most of it isn't his fault. Like he didn't really. He went to tribal and they unanimously voted Amanda out, like all of pre-merge. That was it. And then like he
Right.
had that. Like they voted out Marcus, sure, but that was like at the end of the day, was that even like a difficult tribal? I know it went 3-3-1,
No.
and he's been
Yeah.
like
No, but
talking that up, but
I
like
think
he always had Virgo's vote, so it was never like not going his way. You know,
I
it's just kind of like
I think yeah, but see that's in my opinion, okay, this is what I look for as well. I do not like the gameplay that, when I watch people just follow someone. I hate it with a passion. But I don't hate that someone that they're being followed,
Mhm.
that they're
yeah,
following.
no,
Like
his
I
Trey
mist
agree.
is good, his social
controlling
game is
all of
good.
them, in my opinion, it's awesome.
I think I said last week that his social game is like unparalleled this season, besides maybe like Virgo. Like honestly, like they've
Mhm.
both been playing like killer social games, but the biggest thing with Taylor is that he went to like every single tribal council. Like he
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
never
yeah,
was
yeah,
safe
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
always had to like scrap by, make new numbers, flip at the right time. Like he
Mhm.
had his name written down multiple times. He's also
Yeah.
winning rewards. He's winning individual immunities. He's got an idol that he hopefully will play correctly. Like I just think that when you're doing the strategic part, having to navigate all these tribals, you're doing the social game where people are keeping him at the end of the day, even though he is a threat, and you're also playing a physical game. It's just a little more well rounded. I'm not saying I
I
think
agree.
Trey's played a great game. I wasn't
I
like
agree.
yeah.
I I
I
would
would probably
I
at
would
this point vote
personally
for
vote
Taylor.
for Taylor Ryan over Trey, but the important thing is that you need to know your jury.
Right. Yeah. Now, what if Philip makes it to the end? Would you vote for Philip?
Me?
Ooh.
It depends on who's
What's he
Phillips
what's he
next to,
telling
but
us?
yeah, I
What's he
would.
Yo, I
what's he
don't
telling
know,
us?
man. If Philip makes it to the end, I'd vote for him.
I think
But
I would
what's he
vote for
saying
him.
at the end? If he swears on the Bible that he was like an honest guy, he's not gonna get the votes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Bible stuff's
I
got to
think he
stop.
would.
He's
I
up to
think
like
he
Yeah,
would
four
face
people
bitter
now.
that's
jury.
how you lose a jury vote. I will say
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
Bible.
true.
Absolutely.
No,
I don't know if Trey is one of the people on the jury. Trey said he thinks the swearing in the Bible is hilarious, and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and if Philip went against what he swore to Trey, Trey would not be mad. But I see other people could
Being
potentially.
a little upset. Yeah, it's hard to throw
Trey
those
would
kind of
not be
things into the
mad.
game and win. It's hard to do that. Break your word, then win, because that's like
I don't know,
fucking.
man. All I know is, like, I think Philip has played a good game. The problem is
I
so
agree.
messy. He's so messy and I don't know exactly what's happened. Like, I don't know where, like, somehow he is the one that can actually, like, seize the game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's the one trying to do something about it. And he's just not
Just
able to do
yeah,
that.
it's
I
just
don't
too
think he
terrible.
makes it, but if he
Huh?
makes it,
Wait, what'd you say, Jim?
No, I just said Phillips just had a lot of really bad luck at these like
Bad
attempts
luck. Yeah.
to
And what did you
He's
say,
had some
Jim?
bad luck, but he's also just his kind of. I think his strategic game is actually not too bad.
yeah.
But the way he goes about communicating with people can sometimes be a little bit, leave some to be desired. You know
Oh,
what I
I
mean?
think strategically, he's doing good strategic wise, right? The
Yeah.
problem is he's got one little mistake that he can't keep his mouth shut. If you
Yeah,
play
yeah.
that game
Yep.
strategically and blindside people and
Mhm.
all kinds of shit, you can't be telling people from the other side that you're gonna do that.
No.
It's not
There's
gonna work
also
out.
Like, all
the
right,
big
this vote is going to be me, you, this person, this person,
Yeah.
this person. We keep it amongst this five. We keep our mouth
right.
shut. Don't tell anyone
What
else.
right. What I've noticed about Phillips' game is that he makes these attempts on these people and they don't go that way. And then instead of like keeping that target, like that's what people want to do is know where your target is. Like like I'm all right, cool. He's working with Trey and Ash, and he wants Jacob out or he wants, Gage out or Ben out, whatever it is. But then he goes to those people like Ben and Jacob and like tries to like rebuild relationships with
Yeah.
them and like
Yeah.
work with them socially. And
Yeah.
that's where other
They're
people
not
get
having it,
turned
man.
off because they run it right back to Trey and Ash and Adib and Gage. And they're like, yeah, like Philip is telling me he wants to work with me and he's swearing on the Bible and all this stuff. And then the people that actually trust Philip and like want to work with him are then like disillusioned, like, oh, I thought I was special. And like, this is just the way he treats everyone. So like
Yeah.
that's where you lose your agency because you're working with everybody. And especially when you've tried to like vote people out, you shouldn't be doing that. Like keep your target. They know you're against them. Like use that, like unless you're like a Deeb and Gage where were against each other and now it's like a really under the radar duo kind of thing. But that's not like what Philip does. Like he doesn't like go to Jacob and say like, hey, let's work like undercover and really be like a duo alliance, even though I've blindsided you 3 times in a row now. Like, that doesn't work.
Dude. The dude is messy. He just needs
Yeah.
to tweak
I love the
his
call
game a little
out.
bit.
Oh.
He needs to tweak his game a little bit, and then he'd be dangerous.
Mhm.
He's confident as shit and he's
Yeah.
not like scared to like go for targets, but it's like the pivoting and the rebounding afterwards that I think is probably doing more harm for him than the actual attempts at the moves themselves. People respect the moves. Like even Trey's like the dude's crazy, but like I respect it. Like, like he made an attempt at power, and I think Trey had said like if he got his way on that vote, he'd be running this game right now. So like it was a good attempt, but when you lose that, like kind of like what Ben did, when you lose that attempt at power, like taking over power, you need to like take a back seat and let other people start dictating because you lost, like you lost that battle. You didn't lose the war, but the battle you lost, and you need to like regain the troops, like, get it back together and come up with a plan.
Well, I mean, let's be real. He could have done it, but the problem was the second time around with the Taylor. But the problem is he told Trey what he was going to do again.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
not good.
Trey, not even seconds after whatever. In fact, they would be seen, and then Trey was over there messaging Taylor Ryan. Why tell Trey? It is. But
So-
hey,
Well, I was going to say not to. Go ahead, Derek.
We got to move on because we have 15 minutes and one more whole cycle to talk about. So, Cesar, talk about the Haley boot. What happened?
So the reason why, I'm okay with like talking about all the other ones, not about the Haley or whatever, is because as much as I like Haley, I think that cycle was we already knew that was gonna happen.
We knew it was coming.
That we knew that was coming. Like there was nothing. They had lost back to back already, so they didn't have the numbers
No.
at all.
They almost did. They almost did. And that's why it's a good segue from what we were just talking about, if you think about it. Like everyone just telling everyone everything,
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, there's definitely a reality where Haley stays in the game, if you think about it. Like if Taylor doesn't get that burn vote and Adib actually flips the way that he did, like
Right.
and Adib
Zay.
put in the work an hour before with Zay, because Zay was not voting that way at all. And then Adib literally gets on his first voice call of the whole season and works Zay like literally for 40 minutes. Like this is the right move. We need to make this move. Like this is our whole end game plan. He like lays out the next few boot orders and convinces Zay that it's time to flip back and go back with the OG Hanus and Ben and Taylor. And Zay is like, cool, all right, I'll do it. Like gets convinced to do that. Zay wants to like take agency and try to like regain footing. And then Adib just flips, which is like great. We'll get to that in a sec, but crazy that Adib flips there. But if he doesn't put that work in with Zay, he continues to flip and Taylor doesn't get that burn vote, then the whole thing changes and Jacob goes home.
Yeah, they might both use their burn votes too.
Well,
We're getting rocks.
No, because if it would have been a burner vote, I mean not burner vote. Yeah, if it wasn't for that, it would have tied, and then the retie, Haley would have went home.
No, it wouldn't have tied because
they might win a
Gage was
rocks.
using his burn vote.
Yeah, they both used burner votes, and it was what at that point? It would have been
But
5-5.
Gage like first thing in the morning
you
said,
are
I'm
correct
using
that
the burn vote.
part. You are correct there. Yeah, I forgot about
I
it.
don't think though if Zay has no intention of flipping, I think Adib votes Haley out.
Yeah,
also
which is
probably
a
true,
mistake.
yeah.
It was a
But
mistake.
either
I
way,
think
like,
he
do you
only
think?
voted out Taylor because Zay was flipping.
Do you think though? Because like I still to this moment don't know why Adib flipped his vote and voted like that way.
Because
I
he
really
wanted to
don't.
stay in
I
the
have
middle,
no
and then
idea.
he wanted
Wanted
to blame
to- wanted
it.
play
make
both
Zay the
sides.
scapegoat.
He wanted to blame it on Adib.
No, he wanted to blame
Zay.
it on Zay.
On Zay.
Yeah,
The thing
yeah,
about
But
it is,
why? Like what? In what
He-
reality does that work?
he wasn't counting. He just wanted to be in the middle. He wanted to be able to be like, okay, he told what's his face,
But
that
he was
gonna
already
have-
in the middle.
Yeah, but he wanted to be even more in the middle. That's why he told Gage from the start, I'm going to be the one with the carrot. That way, Gage like, okay, cool. And then he was going to tell the other people, that wasn't me. That was Zay. The problem, he wasn't counting on Zay going in the main chat
And get in a fight.
and getting in the fight.
Well, that was all
I was
Philip.
saying that it was
That was
him,
our
the one that
chaos
voted.
agent Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Philip, who
okay,
thought it was
get
Adib
to
that
me.
flipped first.
Blah blah
Right,
blah.
exactly.
He
So-
told Adib, "Don't ever speak to me again."
Don't ever
for the
speak
rest
to
of
me
the
again for the remainder of this game.
So,
that
Sal,
would be-
what could Haley have done to stay?
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, first the post Camille Blindside, she gets into a fight with the mafia
trio.
bosses, Ash, Trey, Ash, whatever. She calls out the trio. You know what I mean? She kissed that's the kiss of death right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hit was put out on
She
Haley
didn't
by the
kiss the
mafia
ring.
bosses.
I
Didn't
don't
kiss
think
the
that
ring.
I don't think
Yeah.
they would have went after her that round if she didn't open her mouth.
Yeah. The first
do
time
not
she
think-
went out and said something.
I don't
And
think
she
she
knew
was.
that.
I
She
don't
knew
think
that.
she was the target, but I do agree with where she was coming from because even though she wouldn't have been the target that round, they would have still continued to steamroll, and she would have still probably gotten picked off at some
Yeah,
point. anyways.
100%.
I think she was absolutely right to call them out publicly like that
I
because
agree.
it
I
really
agree
does
too.
feel like people are not like realizing what a threat they are, especially
Not,
if they have
not
two
good though.
extra
That's
members.
how you get kicked out next, man.
You're
Unfortunately,
right, you're right.
that's
And the game
tradition, but
changes. Yeah.
yeah, but her
It
social
should have been
game was
something
much
that you
easier.
try to do behind the scenes first, and
Yeah.
try to
You gotta have
try to gauge everyone's reactions. And if you get to a point where the trio is pushing your name, then you go and publicly call them out.
boom, blow them up. Yeah, and I agree. And her
Not while
social
they're
game was
not targeting
I agree.
you. Do it behind the scenes first. Then if they catch wind of it or they decide to target you, this, that, whatever, then you make it public.
yeah.
Haley also didn't handle Adib very well post that vote. Like I remember she like kind of confronted Adib, and Adib did not like that at all. Like Adib like came immediately to his confessional and was like, Haley's the next one out. Like she signed her death certificate. Like she had like issue with me, you know, like not voting the way she wanted on the Camille vote or whatever. And like so that there was a couple things that probably didn't help
There
her
was
placement. But
also, and then also when Zay won the immunity, Philip and her like was trying to convince Zay to give up his immunity.
Yeah.
mostly
Sure.
Philip,
Incredible.
yes.
Yeah, no,
That
Philip was
was
going
Philip.
hard, dude. You gotta give him the immunity.
Which
The
made him
craziest
want
thing
to vote out Haley even more. He's like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to work with people that try to make me to do
Well,
these sorts of things. Like, I
Yeah, and
want
he's
her
like,
out
you
of here.
gotta do this. You gotta do this. I'm
I
telling you.
do
I'm
think
telling you. I'm telling you.
think at least somewhat Zay was considering it.
Yeah, Zay
like,
was definitely considering it, I think.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
Zay was like feeling the pressure for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Zay doesn't do that well with confrontation, I feel. Like, I don't know, just internally, and that's understandable. I have issues with it as well. But Haley just was not active. And like that's one of the main she never really had any strong relationships, I felt like.
I
Post
agree.
like she had Adib, but like Adib threw her to the wayside, which I do think was a mistake by Adib. Adib has an amazing social game, but he's very emotionally driven in this game. And that's going to be his
Agreed.
biggest mistake. When
Agreed.
we're talking about him next week as getting kicked out, that's what we're going to say his mistake was. But
Yeah.
Haley, the overarching theme is that she would come around, she would do some really effective work, and then she would disappear for like 2 days. And that was the problem.
That was the issue there.
Yeah.
Well, she also we have to like point out because it's fair to her at least that two of her main allies went home back to back on like
Back-to-back,
on like unexpected votes, which obviously totally like completely screwed her.
Agreed.
It destroys her.
position.
Yeah, exactly.
So Cesar, I'll start with you. We're at the final 9.
Mhm.
Who do you think has the best shot to win? Or who do you think actually could win?
I think Taylor Ryan can win this game. If he gets there. I think he can get there, actually. I don't see him not getting there because he's got the idol too. And I think Trey can win it too. If he gets there. Who else can win it? Adib, if he makes it there. I think he stands a good chance too. A good shot. Other than that, I just don't think Philip's gonna make it. I
Yeah.
want him to, but I just don't see
I don't
it.
think he's gonna make it.
Right.
I think he has a little bit of longevity left. I don't think he's the target like this
Right
week.
now, yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
I don't think he's probably going to be the target tomorrow either. I think he could at least make it maybe to the final week or the final tribal of this current week, but don't know.
I think
Yeah.
he'll be used to make a move, and then he'll be cut at like final 6. Philip, at least.
Mhm.
But I think it's a 2-horse race. And I don't mean this to be offensive to the rest of the cast, because there are people
No.
that are playing good games. It's really about who I see getting there. I
Mhm.
think Ben could definitely get there. I think Ben is actually very skilled in this game, but Ben might not have the best story this particular
No.
season to beat some of the
No.
top players. Taylor Ryan, his biggest weakness, and we've discussed this, and I think this could come back to bite him, and this is why I think Trey is ultimately going to win the game. Taylor Ryan believes a lot of what people tell him. Sometimes it's not true. And I think that like when Trey comes around like final 6, final 5, and says yada yada yada, and fucking sprinkles the mist in, Taylor Ryan's gonna buy it. Taylor Ryan's gonna like cut Ben or something like that, and then Taylor Ryan, boop, cut at the final 4.
Okay, here's the thing.
Something like that. That's an example, but
Brian just texted he needs us in private chat, right? So
one more thing before we get off too. I just wanted to point out how none of them are utilizing the Island of Secrets the right way.
terribly. The whole thing.
The
Like,
fact that no one has been to island number 5 this entire season. We are up to what, final 9?
It's only
I
like
think
2
there's,
more
like,
rounds.
I have to give-
Yeah, 3 more rounds of it. So
There's 3 more rounds.
Right.
No one has been
I have
to
to give,
island
like,
5.
I have to give, like,
Ty's an
Taylor-
idol.
I have
Literally,
to give Taylor
Ty's an idol.
maybe Gage, like I forget, there's like 2 or 3 of them that are actively like keeping track of like who went to what island, what was there, if that person said they got something or not, and then the rest of them are just like Jacob the other day. Oh, I won reward. I'm going here.
fucking,
And
I'm
they're
spinning a wheel is
like-
basically what we're doing.
Yeah.
Although I will say Jacob could easily win this game as well, because I wouldn't be shocked if he just fucking immunity'd all the way to the end. And I think that he's a big target, but the fact that he's a new org player is gonna be what he says at the end, and some people are gonna hard eye at that. I feel depending on if he's sitting next to Trey, he's probably gonna lose. But if it's like Ash and Zay
Well, I mean,
there,
Trey's
I mean-
completely clocked that though, and that's why he's like Jacob's not going anywhere near the end of this game. Like he
yeah,
already knows
but
that.
Jacob could bust out
He
like
could.
3 or 4 immunity. Like I would not be shocked.
He could.
That dude is
'Cause they're-
cracked. I mean, he's a
They're
super
not
Smash
targeting him
Brothers
this
bro.
round or next round, so he's got himself pretty
Yeah.
much security till final 7. And yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
well,
Okay.
and also
Super Smash Brothers champ.
all in all, go ahead. Sorry.
we're at final 9, and there's only one woman left with Ash, and
I know,
it's
now
a bunch
let's
of
go.
dudes.
That's
Yeah.
disgusting.
She's killing it though.
It
She's
is
killing
pretty
it. Like she's not the flashiest or like the loudest player, but she's playing under the radar,
Ash
and
for
all of
final
her
tribal
allies.
council.
Yeah, I mean, Ash is making final tribal. Let's be real. Like all of her allies are getting targeted before her, which is exactly where you want to be in Survivor. So
Ash
as
is
long as-
definitely going to the end. I don't know if she's gonna win that thing though.
No,
Especially
but if
are we having the finale
I'm
on
gonna
voice
go.
chat?
I'm gonna go, but you all have a good night.
know if we
I
are.
I'll see you
Yeah,
in
there
5
about
minutes.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right, bye.
All right, that has been another episode of Northern Lights Rewind. All right, go do you got to do. Good night, everybody.
All right.